Welcome back to the SP19 Sports Showcase live here from SP19 American Kitchen on the cold and chilly Sandy Pines Golf Club in DeMont. Trust me, nobody is hitting the links on this Saturday. Hopefully that changes within a matter of days and weeks. All right. Now, normally you hear from a lot of high school coaches of various sports, but today we have live here at SP19 American Kitchen, Cole Solomay joining us, the Kankakee Valley Cougars wrestling senior who has put together an incredible 4 years qualifying for the state in each of his 4 years, going back to his freshman campaign in 2020 to winning the state championship literally a month ago today, February 18th, inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse down in Indianapolis, in which he was able to cap off his high school tenure as a Kankakee Valley Cougar wrestler. And first and foremost, there's a few people I want to thank here as well. I want to thank Eric Kidwell for helping set this up. I remember talking with head coach Eric Kidwell of the Kankakee Valley Cougars wrestling program, literally the Thursday, Cole, after you won the state championship, and talked about, well, why don't we get Cole Solomay here on the show? And then I was able just almost 2 weeks ago, specifically Monday, March the 13th, setting up an interview or trying to get you on the show, in which I was able to email John Gray, the athletic director at Kankakee Valley. He said he would take care of everything, and then got back to me and said he is ready to go. So there's a couple people I certainly want to thank. Eric Kidwell, the head coach of the Kankakee Valley Cougars wrestling program, and John Gray, the athletic director of Kankakee Valley High School, for making this all possible. We also want to mention, too, that we have Eric Kidwell could not join us. He had a prior commitment today. So we have one of the assistants of the Cougar wrestling program, Mike Nava, the assistant, and not to mention 2014 alum of Kankakee Valley High School, in which he also wrestled for Eric Kidwell, the head coach, as well as ran cross country. So we are going to have some fun here. Cole Solomay, welcome into the SB19 Sports Showcase. Congratulations on winning the state title in the 138-pound weight class. It's been a month. How has that month been for you?
You know, it's been great. I mean, it all started out, obviously, down in Indy, but having the whole town welcome me back in with a great parade, it was actually unexpected, but the week's been great. I mean, I got announced at a basketball game, and that was awesome. I had a lot of family and friends there to support me, let alone just down in Indy. We had, I think, close to 60 family and friends down there just support me this year and last year. This year I was able to put together my whole high school career and dreams and fulfill what I've always looked forward to, and what's always been my goal since 7th and 8th grade, going down to Indy and watching all the guys wrestle, and now seeing how they felt and making the home proud, and it's been surreal. It's been awesome.
You mentioned about that welcome back, that gathering to welcome you back, which was literally the day after winning the state championship. That Sunday, February the 19th. Certainly you had a police escort, you had fire trucks. They were able to escort you back. And not to mention, too, certainly another accomplishment that you achieved this year was winning, or was claiming the 3A Wrestler of the Year according to Indiana Mac. Now, that's a huge honor, as well as winning the state championship. Just how do you perceive all of these honors that you have been given this year, as well as the 4 years of wrestling at Kankakee Valley?
It was a real honor to be awarded that. I mean, I had multiple training partners and friends who also got awarded through that Indiana map, and knowing them all, growing up with them all, it's been a great year. Quite a few of us finished out our careers phenomenally, but being honored, that was just icing on the cake, and it was a real honor. And I've always seen those posts. One day me, and I finally made it happen for myself and was awarded that.
Let's talk about the state finals. Qualifying for 4 years, going back to 2020 as a freshman. Giving it your best effort your freshman and sophomore years, coming short. Your junior year, you were runner-up. Just a month ago today, February the 18th, inside Gamebridge Fieldhouse, you wrestled over 2 days. The first match was on February 17th. You won that match, and then you were back for 3 more matches the next day, capped off with the victory over Reese Courtney of Center Grove, the junior wrestler. When you won that match, the last match of your high school career to become a state champion, when you had the ref raise your arm in the air, what was that like for you, considering that you had been there the previous 3 years and you had come short?
That was obviously always my biggest goal, was to make that happen for myself, and especially in front of that number of people, like sophomore year, being COVID year and everything going on, the crowd was very minimal, but these past 2 years it has finally grew, and the number of people that were there to watch it all happen, and the number of people from home being there, able to be there and support me, making it all happen, making the drive down. It was a very surreal moment, and I couldn't have been more proud of myself, and honoring the school and my hometown very well. And like I said, it's always been a dream of mine, and finally making that happen for myself, that meant everything to me, because prior to my high school career, the best anybody had ever done in our school history was 5th place, and sophomore year I fell short of that in the 3rd round, and then by losing, and then I ended up 6th, and which has always been my goal going into my high school career, was to beat that. And then junior year, blowing that out of the water, being runner-up, was huge, and a huge personal accomplishment for myself. But this year, winning the state title, that has always been my own goal, and to beat my own record through the high school.
Cole Solomay is joining us here on the SP19 Sports Showcase, the Kankakee Valley Cougar senior wrestler, 4-time state qualifying fire, having capped it off with winning the state championship in the 138-pound weight class just a month ago. As we also have Mike Nava, one of the assistant coaches of the Cougar wrestling program. What was that moment like for you when Cole won the state championship at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, for you personally, having been an influence in his life?
That was just a crazy moment, unreal, to be a part of that and experience it with him, being a real honor to be a coach and also be a partner wrestling with him, and seeing all the hard work that goes into it, and seeing it all pay off was just an incredible moment.
No question about it, an incredible moment for you, an incredible moment for Cougar wrestling, as well as Kankakee Valley and the Wheatfield, DeMont area as well. But looking at these 4 years, obviously you know what it's like to have wrestled in state these 4 years. But if you look at some of your other meets, some of your other accomplishments, what stands out in addition to winning state and going to state that you look back at with just amazement over these last 4 years?
Prior to this season, from last season all the way through to this coming season in November, September, I had also wrestled the Indiana Hoosier Preseason Open that I've competed at almost every year of my high school career, and they only placed top 4, and I had fallen short. And I made top 8 every year and fallen short of the top 4 placement at least 2 years in a row, I think it was. And then I ended up wrestling very well and coming back around, and that was when I knew that I had grew as a wrestler and became a whole lot better through my off-season training especially. And I won that tournament, which is another big national tournament that I've obviously always looked forward to every year. It's the first national tournament of the coming season, And then following that, I wrestled preseason nationals in Iowa, in Des Moines, and that was another tournament I had wrestled, I think, 3 years in a row. And the 2 years prior, I fell short the first year of placements. They placed top 8 there. The second year, I ended up placing 6th, and then I made a jump again this year and wrestled to probably my fullest ability, wrestled very well, competed really well, and I won that tournament. And that was a big win, another one. So those 2 national tournaments were just the start to what I had to look forward to for this season and hopefully accomplish my goal, which I was able to do.
How'd you get into wrestling?
I started when I was 4. My dad was a wrestler, and so was my uncle. That's why me and my cousin, well, they started us out young, and then we honestly started wrestling at Lowell some, and then transferring over to Region Wrestling Academy. And they were originally out of Calumet, now they're out of Highland, but my dad was a big influence on that. He was actually really well on sort of somewhat convincing me and making the right adjustments with me. When I was 4, I honestly was not a huge fan of it when I first started out, and then I eased off. And then coming into the following year when I was 5, I started competing. I started doing a lot better, and then I just fell in love with the sport after that.
Describe your training and conditioning in these years as a wrestler.
In the preseason, I don't know if there's any other way to explain it than nothing but drive and high technique and very physical and just playing hard, gritty. We wrestle as hard as we possibly can, especially all my off-season training partners. All summer long, I started training year-round when I was in 8th grade, and then all the way through high school, I dropped football, baseball, and focused strictly wrestling, and which was a huge addition to my success and probably one of the main reasons I'm where I am today. Because the days of like 3-sport athletes aren't very common anymore. So I knew for myself I had to pick one, and I was very happy that I did that and made that decision for myself. But my off-season training is very, very technical, very hard, just straight hard. And then training with all my off-season training partners, another one of my main strict partners is Aiden Torres from Chesterton, he was also a state champion this year at the 145-pound weight class. So I was standing there mat side, able to give him a hug as soon as he got done wrestling. I mean, him and I have grown up together since we were 7 years old, so it was a surreal moment for both of us to win them back-to-back like that.
You mentioned about Aiden Torres from Chesterton, winner of the 145-pound weight class. Certainly a great story with the friendship you have in winning in the 138-pound weight class. But you mentioned, I want to backtrack here because you mentioned about your cousin, and I do want to talk about you and Caleb Solomay here because he's also a senior like you. You two have matured over these last 4 years through the Kankakee Valley Wrestling Program. Looking at these last 4 years of having your cousin, Caleb Solomay, as a teammate, what has that been like for you as well as Caleb in terms of the bond growing strong between the two of you?
That bond has done nothing but grow, especially the past few years. We've always been really close, always hung out a lot, especially just outside of wrestling. But him being there and me being able to push him, give him a little bit more technique than what he had originally had. I actually sort of convinced him to stop playing football his sophomore year, I think it was, and just strictly wrestle, and that made a huge improvement in his technique and wrestling abilities. Coming into the season, like training during the summer and the preseason, which is what, in my opinion, every wrestler needs that wants to be at the top level. And it's been awesome wrestling with Caleb and seeing him grow as a person and a wrestler as well. And me being able to push him being there to push me, and us just being able to wrestle, giving us a couple of the best partners that we can be. And also our coach here, he loved wrestling with us too. He was one of our best partners as well. And then, but watching Caleb wrestle and fall somewhat short every other year, and then this year being as close as he had ever been, we all thought he had it, to making it down to the state finals and just falling short was the absolute heartbreaker.
Mike, you know what it's like to have wrestled for the Cougar wrestling program. You did in the early to the mid part of the 2010s, and taking a look at Cole here. What has Cole meaning been for Cougar wrestling, and going beyond just the stats, just the records, just the meets? What has his overall impact been for Cougar wrestling, as well as the legacy here moving forward?
He's really set the bar high. It's awesome. I mean, he's taught me a lot. I know I've taught him a lot. It goes both ways. We now know what it takes to become a state champ, and seeing the hard work that he puts into it, and we can see that, and it's just, we learn a lot.
I do want to keep the floor here, Mike. I do want to ask you this, but from an assistant coaching standpoint, what has it been like for you being an influence in his life?
It's been an honor. I really enjoy having him on the team, and I don't know.
I'll tell you what, you've meant a lot to the program, definitely. And as far as the next level, you made history last fall when you committed to Purdue. Now, interesting here, as far as the history goes, never before has a Kankakee Valley wrestler ever committed to Purdue, or for that matter, a Big Ten program, and you will be majoring in building construction management while wrestling. Certainly, I'll be watching a lot of Big Ten Network, having to catch your matches. What attracted you to Purdue?
My visit there was very eye-opening. I had a really great time. I loved all the guys dearly. It was, in a whole, it just felt like home. I loved all the coaches, all the wrestlers, just the environment. Being able to go down there and train with them in their summer sessions and their RTCs, with the fact of them living only 45 minutes to an hour from them, that was one of the biggest deciding factors. And I think as also for the coaches to be able to watch me train and me be able to show them how hard I work, how much effort I will put into the sport, and be able to put out for the whole team and be there for the guys. And it felt like home to me.
Lastly, Cole, I do want to ask you this. How have you grown through your experience of wrestling for the Kankakee Valley program over these last 4 years? How have you grown, not just as a wrestler, but as a student athlete as well as a person?
I think I've grown tremendously. Learned how to definitely talk to many people a whole lot better with some of the honor that I have been given and the accomplishments, obviously. As a person in a whole, I feel like I know that anything and anybody can humble you. So the worst thing you can ever be is cocky, and that's one thing that's always been a huge part and influence in my family. And we've always been taught that don't ever get cocky, because as soon as you do, you will be humbled.
Mm-hmm. That is a great lesson in life. Cole Solomay, it has been certainly fun watching your career over these, or your high school tenure, I should say, over these last 4 years, following what you've been able to do on the mat. And certainly I want to thank you for joining us here at SP19 American Kitchen, here on the Sports Showcase, to recap, celebrate, as well as look ahead to what's going to be some interesting times for you at Purdue, adding wrestling there on their program with the Boilermakers, But I certainly want to once again congratulate you, not just on winning the state championship, not just on being named Indiana Mat's 3A Wrestler of the Year, but I also want to congratulate you on overall your accomplishments over these last 4 years wrestling for the Kankakee Valley Cougar Wrestling Program. I want to thank you. I also want to thank you, Mike, for joining us, Mike Nava, the assistant to Eric Kidwell on the Kankakee Valley Cougars Wrestling coaching staff. I want to thank the both of you for joining us here on the SB19 Sports Showcase. It has been a blast. Thank you, gentlemen.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. And also, too, want to make once again mention of a couple thank yous here to Eric Kidwell, the head coach of the Kankakee Valley Cougars Wrestling Program, and John Gray, the athletic director at Kankakee Valley High School, for helping make this time possible. We are going to take a timeout, and when we come back, we will continue on more interviews as we will sit down with more basketball coaches on the boys' side talking about their seasons, and we will continue that on the other end of this commercial timeout. You're listening to the SB19 Sports Showcase here on 97.7 The Q.